When the guns finally fell silent in May 1945, the victors of World War II began the grim task of unearthing the Third Reich's buried world. Across Central Europe, Allied and Soviet forces stumbled upon a landscape that seemed to belong to another civilization. Miles of tunnels, fortresses, and laboratories hidden beneath mountains, some still echoing with the hum of machinery, others filled with corpses and silence. What they uncovered was not merely the wreckage of war, but a treasure trove for the Soviet Union. The discovery of Nazi Germany's subterranean empire was both a revelation and a race. The Red Army had entered Silesia and Eastern Germany first, giving them access to many of the Reich's most advanced underground sites, including portions of the Reich complex, the Mittelwerk tunnels, and several hidden facilities in the Sudeten Mountains. What they found stunned even hardened soldiers. Laboratories filled with experimental aircraft parts, racks of blueprints for advanced rockets. The Soviets wasted no time. NKVD, later KGB officers arrived within days, cordoning off entire regions. Teams of engineers and scientists were dispatched to dismantle the facilities, remove equipment, and seize documents. Anything of value, from jet engines to radar systems to experimental fuels, was packed into trains bound for Moscow. In some cases, entire laboratories were relocated piece by piece. Among the most valuable finds were the remnants of the V-2 rocket program. At the Nordhausen tunnels, Soviet specialists uncovered assembly lines, engine molds, and guidance systems that represented the pinnacle of German engineering. Within months, the Soviets had shipped thousands of tons of components eastward and reassembled them under the supervision of their own rocket engineers. These discoveries would later form the foundation of the Soviet ballistic missile program, the same program that but the Soviets were not just interested in machines. They wanted the minds behind them. Just as the Americans were launching their own recruitment drive under Operation Paperclip, Soviet intelligence began forcibly relocating hundreds of German scientists, engineers, and technicians to the USSR. Some went willingly, hoping for safety. Others were taken under guard. Entire families were loaded onto trains in the dead of night and transported to secret research cities like Gorodomlya Island near Moscow. The rivalry between East and West for Nazi science became one of the first skirmishes of the Cold War. While both sides publicly condemned the crimes of the Third Reich, privately they raced to inherit its technology. Each believed that within the tunnels of the Reich lay the blueprint for future power, rockets, jets, atomic theory, and the tools of total war. The Soviets, however, had another motive: control of the narrative. In the newly occupied zones of Eastern Europe, they quickly sealed off access to most of the Nazi underground sites. Journalists, explorers, and even Allied inspectors were barred entry. The Reich complex was declared a restricted military zone. Many of its entrances were walled up or flooded. The Soviets classified the findings as strategically sensitive, a term that effectively buried them in state archives for decades. This secrecy only deepened the mystery. Locals in Lower Silesia spoke of strange convoys departing under cover of night, guarded by Soviet troops. Some claimed that trains loaded with crates of unknown cargo disappeared into the Kiefer Mountains, never to be seen again. Rumors flourished of secret weapons, hidden treasure, even experimental energy sources that the Soviets had spirited away. Though much of it was speculation, Soviet intelligence did indeed transport vast amounts of material eastward, including. Meanwhile, in the Western occupation zones, American and British forces were conducting their own investigations. In April 1945, U.S. troops discovered the Merkers Mine in Thuringia, a vast underground vault filled with Nazi gold, foreign currency, and priceless art looted from across Europe. The sheer volume of treasure was staggering: over 8,000 gold bars, crates of diamonds, and entire museum collections stacked in the dark. This discovery reinforced Allied suspicions that other hidden caches exist. The race to control these underground legacies was not only about material gain, it was about ideology. Both the United States and the Soviet Union recognized that the Nazi pursuit of technological supremacy had already pointed toward the next era of warfare: rockets, nuclear weapons, and guided missiles. The Nazis had failed to build their thousand-year Reich, but their blueprints would fuel a new global confrontation, one that might last as long as their dream had intended. In the Soviet archives, classified reports detailed findings from various underground facilities. Some described unfinished nuclear reactors or uranium enrichment experiments, particularly near Silesia and the Satana land. Others spoke of biological experimentation centers, possibly related to SS medical research, though the evidence remains incomplete. Whatever their nature, these projects were absorbed into the Soviet scientific apparatus, their origins quietly erased. By the 1950s, much of Nazi Germany's subterranean world had been physically sealed or repurposed. The Soviets used several former bunkers as military storage or command posts. Some were converted into underground radar stations. Others were left to flood and decay. But the memory of what lay beneath remained alive, whispered about by local villagers, occasionally hinted at in declassified documents, always lingering at the edge of history's shadow. During the height of the Cold War, both superpowers occasionally returned to these sites, sometimes to extract remaining equipment, sometimes to bury the past even deeper. In East Germany and Poland, large sections of Reich were concreted shut. In Czechoslovakia, certain tunnel networks were taken over by Soviet intelligence for their own secret programs, including underground communication hubs and early warning systems. What had begun as Hitler's fantasy of eternal fortresses had come the infrastructure. Yet for all their secrecy, both sides understood what these discoveries truly represented. They were not simply ruins of a lost empire, they were warnings. They showed how easily technological ambition could outpace morality, how the pursuit of supremacy could drive nations literally underground. In the decades that followed, as satellites replaced rockets and the arms race reached orbit, the ghosts of Hitler's subterranean empire still haunted the imagination of both East and West. The Cold War's bunkers, missile silos, and nuclear command centers bore an uncanny resemblance to the tunnels beneath the Reich. Proof that humanity, even after victory, had learned more from Nazi engineering than it cared to admit. For the Soviets, the lessons of Reich and Mittelwerk became a quiet obsession. Their secrecy ensured that much of what was found there would remain buried, not just beneath the mountains of Poland and Germany, but beneath the layers of official silence that defined the Iron Curtain. And so, beneath the war never truly ended. It merely changed uniforms. The Reich's underground empire, once meant to preserve a dying ideology, became the foundation of a new one, a world divided by fear, secrecy, and the endless pursuit of power beneath the surface of peace.